what happens after we die? It's a huge question, right? For over 26 years, a weekly online publication called the Friday Afterlife Report has been digging into that very topic, not as a matter of faith, but as a subject of evidence. So today, we're going to unpack the key claims and all the information they present to really understand the picture they're painting of the world beyond.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at what the afterlife is supposedly like according to these reports. Then, we'll get into the different kinds of evidence they present to back all this up. After that, we'll dive into a really fascinating case study, check out the huge online community that's grown around this, and finally, we'll wrap it all up by asking, why does any of this even matter for us right now?
Okay, first things first, what is the afterlife actually like? The vision presented in these reports, well, it's probably not what you're picturing. Forget the clouds and harps. They talk about something surprisingly solid. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. What's so wild is who it's attributed to, Monsignor Hugh Benson, a Catholic priest, supposedly speaking after his death through a medium. You see, the reports use these kinds of direct testimonials to push back against that common idea of a, floaty, non-physical heaven.
And this isn't just a one-off idea, it's a theme that pops up again and again. The reports point to people who've had out-of-body experiences, and they pretty much all say the same thing. The first places you go in the afterlife feel just as solid as our world, maybe even more so. The thinking is that it's all just operating at a higher vibration, which makes it feel incredibly real to the people there.
So, you can see the huge contrast here. On the one hand, you've got this popular image of just floating around as some kind of disembodied spirit. But what these reports describe is a totally tangible world. We're talking furnished homes, stunning landscapes, even physical bodies that are made whole and healthy again.
Okay, so if the afterlife is a real, tangible place, the big question is, how would anyone know that? Where does all this detailed information come from? And that brings us right to our next section, the catalog of evidence the reports present.
I mean, it's the obvious question, isn't it? And the answer isn't that this all comes from one single book or some ancient prophet. Instead, the reports are like a compilation, pulling together information from a ton of different sources. Things like mediumship, near-death experiences, and believe it or not, even modern tech.
Yeah, one of the most mind-bending categories they talk about is something called Instrumental Transcommunication, or ITC for short. The reports bring up experiments from back in the 80s and 90s where researchers claim they were getting voices and even images from the afterlife through things like radios and TVs. It's like a high-tech message from the other side.
And this just shows you the huge range of experiences they're looking at. It goes all the way from something really subtle and personal, like just sensing a loved one is there or having a super vivid dream, to something way more concrete, like hearing a voice on a recording or, get this, even getting a phone call.
Of course, near-death experiences, or NDEs, are a huge piece of the puzzle. The reports talk about them all the time. And the key takeaway from thousands and thousands of these accounts is pretty consistent. Our consciousness can and does exist outside of our physical body. And we often get to reunite with loved ones who've already passed on.
Then you have personal accounts like this one, which supposedly came through automatic writing. These are presented for a really simple human reason, to help ease our fear of death. Hearing these first-hand perspectives that describe it as peaceful and painless, well, that's a powerful idea.
Okay, but theories and categories are one thing. How does this stuff actually work in the real world? Well, to show that, the reports often zoom in on specific historical cases. They call it evidential mediumship, and the whole point is to find concrete, verifiable proof.
So let's look at a classic case they bring up a lot, the case of Bessie Manning, way back in 1933. And with this one, the goal wasn't just, hey, I'm okay. The goal was to get information that could be fact-checked.
So during a session, a voice comes through claiming to be this Bessie, and it gives these incredibly specific details, not just personal stuff, but even her mother's exact address in a completely different city. Things like her long plaits. That's a detail only very close family would know.
And this is the process that makes it evidential. First, they get the message. Then, the investigators actually sent a telegram, remember this is 1933, and found the mother. And here's the kicker. She confirmed every single detail. She even wrote later that she knew for a positive fact no other person could know those things. The whole point is to try and rule out any possibility of fraud or just lucky guessing.
But this isn't all just about dusty old cases from 100 years ago. Nope, the Afterlife reports also show that there's a huge, thriving community of people engaging with these ideas right now, all across the globe.
And they point to things like this as a sign of a real shift in public interest. I mean, a YouTube channel about this stuff getting over 1 million subscribers in just a couple of years, that points to a massive, growing curiosity about what happens next. And it's not just passive interest either. It's super organized. If you look at the weekly schedules mentioned in the reports, you'll see this packed calendar of online events. You've got groups for everything: mediumship development, study sessions, grief support, open forums, you name it. It's all about people coming together to explore this.
So this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it might be the most important one. What's the point of all this? What are we supposed to do with this information? How does it affect how we live our lives now?
But one of the core messages you see over and over is pretty simple. Who you are right now is who you're going to be the moment you arrive in the afterlife. They say death is just a change of scenery, not a change of character. All your habits, your personality, your level of spiritual awareness, it all packs a bag and comes with you.
And this quote they highlight from Paramahansa Yogananda just nails that idea. The message is basically, don't wait around for some magic personality makeover after you die. The real work, the important work of self-improvement and spiritual growth has to happen right here on Earth.
And when you boil it all down, that seems to be the main point. The reports suggest that looking into the afterlife isn't just about figuring out what happens when we die. It's about finding a reason, a framework for how to live a better, more meaningful, more conscious life today. So maybe a blueprint for dying is really a blueprint for living.